Kelly Starrett, Gray Cook, Dr. Stuart McGill. Three of the most respected names in pain and movement science all do this one thing when they have to fix their own shit. They stop chasing the pain and they start looking for the patterns. You see, most people treat pain where that pain hurts. Shoulders hurt, rub it out a little bit. Neck's tight, give it a little stretch or something. But that's just treating the smoke, not the fire. I spent years doing the same thing when I had chronic pain after jumping out of planes in the army. And I did everything my doctors gave me, but nothing ever worked. But then I learned about the patterns I'm about to share with you, and because of it, I was completely pain-free in just a few months. Now today, we're going to be going over the four most common types of pain, and each one has its own signature pattern, its own test, and a specific way to start fixing it. So with that said, let's start with nerve pain because this is one that most people tend to get wrong. You see, nerve pain follows a map in the body. It follows the same path like everybody else. Now, all nerve pain usually starts somewhere near the spine, and where you feel it is going to tell you where it's coming from. If you got pain or tingly fingers, then that's most likely coming from the cervical spine. Pain like sciatica, probably lumbar spine. Chest or rib pain, most likely thoracic. And the reason why this is important is because it's going to allow you to be able to trace out your nerves from the spine into the problem area. Now, when it comes to nerve pain, though, there's usually one major type of reason for you having nerve pain to begin with that we can actually control, we'll say. And that has to do with compression. Now, the reason why this is a problem is because compression in one area usually isn't a big deal. We all have some kind of compression in one spot of our body or another that's usually tight and pressing on our nerves. But the problems I'm starting to see more and more of is that these nerve issues are coming from people who have compression in multiple areas and not just one. This is known as something like double crush syndrome, where you have compression in the scalenes, compression in the chest, creating your thoracic outlet syndrome. Or maybe you have multiple ones going down the arm, creating carpal tunnel syndrome. And the reason why this is happening is because when there's compression on the nerves and blood vessels themselves, then that means the nerves and the blood vessels aren't allowed to actually move with the body when the body moves in those directions. You see, they don't like to stretch, right? And when you think about this, if they're stuck in the muscle, for example, and it's going up the nerves are going up the hand. The moment I stretch my hand and it's stuck, the nerves get pulled away from the origin of sight, the where it's supposed to be. That stretch is what you're feeling. It's because it's compressed in multiple areas and not just one usually. Like I said earlier, I found that most people can usually handle one type of compression. They may feel a little bit, but it's not the issue. The issue comes from multiple compression sites, not just one usually. This is just from personal experience and talking to people. So what does nerve pain actually feel like? Well, it has some kind of burning quality. It may feel like an immediate zap if you hit the right nerve. If you ever hit a funny bone, that's actually you hitting your nerve and it's why you feel it. It can make you feel weak because your nerves aren't sending signals to the muscles. So why is all this so important to understand? Well, it's because this is how we're also going to test it and explains why we feel pain during these tests. You see, when you take a look at any type of test for nerve pain, it's going to have one of two things in common. You're either going to stretch the area that you think is creating that compression in order to irritate the pain and recreate it, or you're going to compress that area in order to recreate that pain and irritate it. You're either stretching a muscle or you're contracting it in order to test your nerve pain. So you're essentially performing a different movements, different types of movements, and holding it there, or performing contractions and movements to test your nerve pain. And again, it's important to realize that we're doing this because a muscle is supposed to stretch. And if there's room in that muscle, if it's not tight, then it should be able to fully stretch and not create pain, not compress on your nerves and blood vessels. This also means those nerves and blood vessels shouldn't be able to stretch with it. So if you have some kind of nerve pain, right, if you have something like thoracic outlet syndrome, the first thing you have to do is just figure out where your nerve pain is coming from. And you can do that by isolating the different common muscles like the scalenes, the pec, coracobrachialis, all that fun stuff. Isolate those movements and see if those movements recreate your pain. Tightness in the neck or pain in the neck probably, stretch it out or compress it. If you have tightness in the chest, you can do a nice little right abduction, stretch it out, all these little things. And if any of this recreates your pain, then you know that's probably an area of compression that you need to target. Now, once you know where to work, which muscles to work on, then this is when you start working on it with some self-massage techniques in order to help those tissues slide. You see, the tissues are stuck on the nerve, or they're stuck and they're wrapped around it nice and tight. And you need to help those tissues slide and move in order for that nerve to move through it freely. And then from there, if you're feeling a little cheeky, you can also do some nerve glide. This is pretty much going to try to help move that nerve by moving the wrist and neck, moving the start point and end point of the nerve essentially, and flossing it through those muscles. But again, if you release those muscles first, then this should be a lot easier. It should feel a lot smoother versus doing this first and then the massage technique. All right, now another thing that tends to feel like nerve pain is actually going to be fascia pain. Fascia is a giant continuous web of connective tissue that connects all the different muscles, organs, joints, nervous system together in a giant web. And because it is fully connected from head to toe, this is how we get something like referral pain in different areas of the body that make no sense. You see, what ends up happening is you have some sort of tightness, maybe some kind of compression, right, on your muscles and your nerves that's also tightening the fascia system. And when that happens, it will pull on the entire connective tissue web, resulting in tension in different areas of the body. This is how we get something like referral pain. At least this is the best way to think about it. And this is also how we can work on one spot of the body and release tension in another. Like, no joke, do this right now. Do a quick hamstring stretch test, right? Just see how tight your hamstrings are. And then roll out the bottom of your feet for about 30 seconds to a minute on each side, and then retest. You can see that you can feel an improvement in your actual hamstring flexibility without ever touching your hamstrings. And this is your fascia system at play. Now, what creates these fascia restrictions? Well, it's going to be either a lack of movements or it's going to be a lack of variety movements. You see, either you're not moving enough, you're just kind of a sedentary person stuck in one position all day, or you're only moving in one position every single day, arms up to type, back down, arms up to type, back down. And when you do this repetitively over years and years, your body begins to form into these positions. And it does this by making the fascia restrictive and tight in these different directions. This is why 90% of the population will have something like rounded shoulders and forehead posture, because the body is making you stuck in these positions because we're always in these positions. It's just part of our modern society. Now, unlike nerve pain, right, that follows a specific path whenever you are working on it or you need to find it, fascia pain kind of goes wherever the hell it wants. Whenever you press on a trigger point, let's just say in the neck, you might feel that somewhere in the back, you might feel it in the head. It might can go wherever it wants along those fascia lines. And the trickier part here is that it can also feel like nerve pain. So it can be really confusing to which one you are trying to deal with. So how do you figure this out? Well, the answer is to simply hold that pressure. You see, whenever you are working on fascia and even the nerves, the nervous system and all that, trying to loosen those muscles around it, you do that with self-massage techniques, in this case, static pressure. But in order to determine if it's on a nerve or if you're on fascia, then you have to simply hold that static pressure there for a lot longer than you normally would and pay attention to what the pain is doing. So, for example, if I'm pressing right here on my arm and I feel a nice little zing or a zap, right, and I start to feel it, my hand go numb and burn, all that. The only way for me to tell if that's a nerve or fascia is to hold pressure there. And if the pain gets worse and worse and worse, most likely a nerve and I can move off it. But if the pain begins to dissipate, change, or move, or even just stay like a little constant, then that can tell me it's probably more of a fascia restriction and I need to work on it a little more. Now, I already brought this up a little earlier, but the same way you fix nerve pain is going to be the same way you fix fascia pain. You try to massage it out, release those tissues, let them slide, and that will help you move easier and allow everything else to move easier, which will reduce your pain. All right, let's talk about muscle pain now. This is one that most people tend to usually know, but they can also get wrong from time to time. Now, muscle pain tends to be more localized, where you press it, where it hurts, where you feel it, where it hurts, right? But this is usually caused by three different things. We have overuse, where we use a muscle way too much. We have underuse, where a muscle's never used and then all of a sudden it gets called upon and then it gets damaged. And then we have just muscle compensation because muscles tend to work in teams. And when one muscle becomes either overactive or underactive, somewhere along those other muscles, they have to compensate. Let's take a look at the upper traps and why they're always in pain, for example, right? The reason why you're always feeling tension in your upper traps is because they're chronically lengthened and stretched out. And it's because they are weak, but they have to constantly support the head while you are working on the computer. So you have all this tension in your upper traps. It's not strong enough to support the head, and therefore you start to feel that strain, that neck strain. And that would be a muscle that's underworked. But on the flip side of that, remember, muscles work in teams. We have other muscles like the sternocleidomastoid and even the anterior scalene that are chronically overused and tight and can be pulling on your upper traps to begin with. You see, there is an interesting pattern to underused and overused muscles. You have some kind of overworked muscles first, which leads to underworked muscles on the antagonist side, right? On the opposite side that's competing with them. And that right there messes with the entire muscle chain around it, resulting in some kind of chain reaction where you start to feel pain throughout the entire body. Now, we're talking about muscle right now, but we did just talk about fascia. And the thing is, you can't really discuss one without the other anymore because fascia interweaves with literally everything, like I mentioned earlier. And one of the main things it interweaves with is going to be your muscle system. So instead of being the muscular system or the fascia system, you should start thinking of your body now as the myofascial system. And it's this myofascial system, which is why we get trigger points. You see, a trigger point is essentially a small little spot in the muscle that gets stuck in a contracted state. But because the fascia system interweaves with everything, that fascia also gets stuck and tangled in there as well. Now, over time, right, and overusing it basically results in that one little knot spreading into a bigger one, essentially, resulting in your trigger points and that referral pain that you would feel from your fascia pain and trigger points. So this is why trigger points, when you press on that one spot, just like muscle pain, you can actually get rid of the pain itself because you could be hitting that one spot that you need. But this is also how we can get something like referral pain when working on trigger points. So basically, they both work hand in hand. When pressing on a trigger point, you're not only trying to release the muscle, but hopefully you're loosening the fascia system within it and loosening the tension as well. So how do you get rid of trigger points? Same exact way for fascia restrictions and nerve pain. You got to hold static pressure, maybe do some micro movements on the most tender spot that you found for about 30 seconds up to 2 minutes. And by doing so, you're going to help those muscle fibers release and allow that muscle to fully contract and also allow those fascia fibers to loosen as well. Now, this brings me to the final type of pain, and that is going to be joint pain. And the one thing you have to understand about joint pain is that it's mostly mechanical. You see, joints are designed to move in specific ways. You have the ball and socket joint, which allows full range of motion. You have a hinge joint, which allows basically flexion and extension or some variation of that. Then you have a whole bunch of other ones that I cannot remember at the moment. But with that said, even though these are mechanical and even though they're meant to move a specific way, we have to remember one thing. Joints are doing what the muscles are telling them. See, your neck doesn't just pull forward because gravity told it. It's also doing it because the muscles are pulling it forward. Your shoulders are not just rounded forward because you're using them all day. It's because the muscles are actually pulling them into this rounded position. Your shoulder doesn't just get impinged. It's because the muscles around it put it into that position to get impinged. You see, the whole point I'm trying to make here is that your joint, if you have some kind of joint pain, you have to take a look at the muscles around it and how they're either balancing each other or not to see where the real problem is. You can't just blame gravity and age for something like arthritis on one side of the joint versus the other, because now I'm going to ask, why that side? It's because of the tighter muscles pulling that tension in the first place. Now, of course, joint pain, this usually takes years to see, years to develop. And by the time you start to see it or feel it, it tends to be a little too late to kind of prevent it. But that doesn't mean you can't stop it or even reverse it. Now, like I said earlier, the best way to fix joint pain, at least in my opinion, is to stop blaming the joint itself and start looking at the muscles around it and seeing which ones are overdeveloped and underdeveloped, are shorn and tightened and lengthened and weakened. And we can easily figure this out by doing a simple movement assessment. So for example, we're going to be using the shoulder and I want to see which muscles are shorn and tight and which muscles are lengthened and weakened. And I'm going to do this by doing a simple shoulder flexion movement. So all I'm going to do is simply bring my arm up as high as I can and raise it up and feel for what I'm doing. I'm trying to feel what's happening as I'm doing this movement. So starting off, right, if I'm just moving my arm up and I start to feel pain in the muscles that are performing that movement itself, like the anterior deltoid, that can be one of two things. It can be a small tear or a strain or something in the muscle themselves. So when the muscles contract, you're basically pulling on a small little tear, resulting in your pain. Or if the muscle feels more like it's getting compressed and squeezed, well, that's because it probably is and needs to be massaged out and lengthened and really stretched out before trying that again. Now, on the flip side of pain in the front, if we start to feel some kind of pain in the back as we are doing this, this is also a sign of a strain or a small tear in the muscles in the back because those muscles are getting stretched out as I'm doing this movement. So now if it's getting stretched out and there's a tear in there, you're probably feeling that little tear. Or if it just feels tight, this is again a sign of the muscle being shorn and chronically tight, meaning you have to probably massage it out and lengthen it in order to allow that better mobility. As you can see, right, doing a simple shoulder flexion, I can tell which muscles are chronically shorn and tight, where that pain is coming from, and what I need to do with it, all with a simple movement. Now you may be asking, well, Adam, how do you know if this is muscle or if it's joint? Great question. We can do two different things here, right? The first thing is already the active flexion, is what I've already been doing. When you are raising your arm up by yourself, you are controlling it through your own nervous system, making your muscles contract and do the movements. Now we are doing this, and this is going to tell us if this is some kind of muscle pain, but it can also be joint pain. And in order for us to figure out this, here's what you need to do. You need to do a passive flexion, a passive movement. And the way you do that is two ways. One, the easiest way is for you to relax your entire arm and allow someone else to lift that arm for you to do shoulder flexion as you are completely relaxed. Because what's happening now is you're still moving the arm through its range of motion. The joint is still moving, but the muscles are not activated. So if you have a tear or something like that, you shouldn't feel it. But if you're a loner like me and you don't have anyone around you, then what we can do here is simply place your arm on top of the table and then back yourself up and drop your head, which results in still shoulder flexion, but now you're just bent over at the hips. Same movement, same thing, same idea that you're keeping the arm completely relaxed. And this is going to tell you if you have joint pain or not. And just to make sure you have this, if you have pain still with the movements, even though the muscles are not contracted, that signals joint pain. If you don't have any pain with the movements, but you have pain when you do it, probably a muscle problem. So now that you've figured out if it's joint pain and which muscles are short and tight, then this is when you go and work on those different tissues. If it's short and tight, you massage it out. If it's lengthened and weakened, you strengthen it. And you do it in the order of releasing first and then exercises in order to fix your joint pain, right? Because this is going to help loosen the tension that's pulling your joint out of place. And then it's going to help strengthen the correct muscles to pull your joint back in place. Now, if you want to go deeper into all this kind of stuff or you just have questions, then make sure to join my brand new community by clicking on the link in the description below. Inside of this community, we're going to be doing monthly deep dives, weekly coaching calls, and basically just learning as many different things as we can to improve our health without it actually taking over our lives. Like I said, if you want to join my brand new community, then make sure to click on the link in the description below. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one.